Welcome back to the Pole Position. Canada is most known as the land of maple syrup, ice hockey, and the greatest chip-based dish known to the human race. But it also has a very interesting political scene. I figured that with elections a month away, and some very unusual talk from the President of the United States, it would be interesting to take a look at what's going on. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has officially called the general election for Canada's federal parliament, and voters will go to the polls on April 28th. So what led us to this point? What are the parties, and who is likely to win? First of all, we should establish how the election will play out. The Canadian Parliament is elected via first past the post, like in the UK, with 340 seats currently up for grabs. The current Parliament was led by a Liberal minority government, previously under Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney. In second place is the Conservative Party as the main opposition, under Pierre Poilievre, which lost despite winning more votes than the Liberals in the previous election. Other opposition parties include the Bloc Québécois, a Quebec nationalist party that aims for Quebec independence and thus only stands in the predominantly French-speaking province, currently led by Yves-François Blanchet. There is also the New Democratic Party, which sits to the left of the Liberals and is led by Jagmeet Singh, the Green Party led by Elizabeth May and Jonathan Pednot, and the right-wing People's Party led by Maxime Bernier. This election was called shortly after the election of former Bank of England and Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney as the leader of the Liberal Party and Prime Minister, after Justin Trudeau stood down amidst cratering approval ratings. Currently, the Liberals have recently taken the lead in opinion polls, due to a number of reasons laid out in my previous video on the Liberal poll surge, so if you want more detail then I suggest you take a look at that one. The TLDR of it all is that Carney is a very popular figure compared to his opponents, with a Conservative leader holding a surprisingly low approval rating. This is paired with a recent bound for the Liberals, brought on partly by Donald Trump's recent comments about annexing Canada, as well as issues around tariffs, which has damaged the Conservatives as they had previously attempted to tie themselves to the brand of conservative populism that Trump was known for, regularly supporting Trump prior to the election in November. All of this has led to an extremely sharp rise in support for the Liberals, who have gained votes off both the Conservatives and the New Democrats, whose own leader is struggling with his popularity as well. The battlegrounds in this election are quite wide, with the main battleground seats sitting in the eastern provinces of Ontario, Manitoba, Quebec, New Brunswick, Prince Edward, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland and Labrador, with a number of seats in British Columbia also being competitive. If the Liberals wish to win a majority, which is already a distinct possibility, they will need to hold their ground and make gains against multiple opponents on their left and right, with the New Democrats, Bloc Québécois, and most importantly the Conservatives. If the Conservatives wish to do the same, they will need to beat the Liberals and New Democrats primarily on Ontario, whilst also making gains in rural Quebec and suburban British Columbia, all whilst holding their ground against any possible Liberal gains. So what are the polls saying? Currently, according to 338 Canada, the Liberals are on track for a majority for the first time since their victory in 2015. They are expected to win in all but two provinces, those being Alberta and Saskatchewan. The Liberals are expected to win 187 seats, whilst the Conservatives are expected to win 129, which is actually an improvement for the Canadian Conservative Party compared to the last election. The New Democrats, meanwhile, are expected to win just 5 seats, their lowest result since the party was founded, whilst the Bloc Québécois would win 21. In vote share, the Liberals are currently on 42%, a huge improvement from 2021, whilst the Conservatives sit on 38%, again a good improvement. Whilst the New Democrats sit on 9%, down 8 points, and the Québécois are on 6, down 1.5%. The Greens, meanwhile, are up just 1 point and now sit on 3% of the vote. So what now? The election is a month away, and a week is a long time in politics, so don't be surprised if things change on a dime by election day. The Conservatives could still win, and Pierre Poilievre could still be the next Canadian Prime Minister, but it isn't looking too likely at the moment. To be fair, this may not be an awful result for the Conservatives, even if they fail to beat the Liberals, as they are still expected to increase their vote and seat share. The real losers seem to be the smaller left-wing parties that have seen their vote transfer largely to the Liberals, especially the NDP. Anyway, we have a long way off, and I'll be here to cover it all, so make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below. As always, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.